Hi, my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a new reading vlog. This is a dedicated reading vlog for my most anticipated release of the year, which is Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep by Paul Tremblay. I was very lucky to be granted an advanced reader's copy through NetGalley for this book. I don't really know anything about it. I think it has something to do with AI. I know that the title takes inspiration from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And I really don't care to read the synopsis because Paul Tremblay is one of my favorite authors. His book Horror Movie I also got as an ARC, and that is one of my favorite horror books. So safe to say, I have very high hopes for this one. I feel like it's going to be a 5-star, and I can't wait to read it and get this vlog up just in time before it is published. This comes out on June 30th. So this is going to be a spoiler-free reading vlog. All of my thoughts, I will let you know at the end who I would recommend this to, and hopefully give you guys a little bit more insight into the book if you are wondering if it's something that you should pick up or not. So without further ado, I will let you guys go ahead and get into the reading vlog. So I'm about 20% through the book now, so I wanted to give you guys my first update since I now know a little bit more about the plot. This is one that I did not read the synopsis for because the title and the author had me sold. So we start off the book with a chapter that is titled You, and it is as if we are in the story, and it's basically like you wake up in this room and you see these people, and it's very confusing and disorienting, which of course is the intention of it and the way that it's written, because we're kind of thrown in, we don't really know anything about it. It's just odd and a little bit confusing, kind of hard to grasp what's going on in that first chapter. But then we get to chapter 2, which switches to Julia, who is the primary character, at least so far that we've been following. She is somewhere around 23 or 24 years old. I think it's like a year after she finished college, so somewhere around that age group. But she is living with her uncle. Her father passed away when she was 17 years old, and she has a very strained relationship with her mother. Her parents are divorced, and her mother is the CFO of this very successful company, so she's got a lot of money, but they don't really have a very emotional connection, and part of that does come with like just her mother's personality and what she does for work, and being wealthy and having all of the money. She really puts a lot of pressure on Julia, and so after her father passed, Julia chose to stay with her uncle instead of moving to live with her mother. So she is working, I think she's a production assistant on some kids show, and it's not a job that she's really very passionate about. She actually has a couple of different jobs, just trying to make ends meet, and to work her way up to a place where she can have a high-paying job that utilizes her college degree. So this is just kind of like one of the stepping stones. Right out of college, this is the job she has. And her mother definitely thinks she can do better, but it comes off a little harsh when she tries to tell Julia that. But her mother ends up calling her one day and is like, I need a big favor. I need you to come to this job interview at my company. And Julia's like, no, I'm not gonna do it because like you're always trying to like pressure me into do these things that I don't really want to do. And her mom just is like, please, like you would be doing me a huge favor by doing this, and the company is going to pay you $5,000 just to show up to the interview. So, you know, like that kind of sells it, right? You need money. $5,000, your flight is paid for and booked already. Like I would probably go too, and I would just I feel like I would go in with the mindset of I'm just going to kind of entertain this idea, go to the interview, whatever, leave with my money, and then if it happens to be a great job opportunity, then cool, you know, we can work something out there. But $5,000 for a single job interview is pretty good. However, on the way to the company, because her mother has arranged transportation from the airport to the company, and she is given all of these forms and contracts and like NDAs to sign on the way there, and she does not read them, which is like kind of insane to me. She just is kind of blindly trusting her mother. Honestly, I don't see why she trusts her mother, like aside from the fact that she's your mother. Like, I don't know, I feel like their relationship is so strained that you would want to make sure that you're not getting into anything too crazy. But she doesn't she doesn't read them, but she signs them all and then arrives at the job interview. The interview process is very strange, and she learns that the job itself is to transport a man who is brain dead to a different state where they can do the like medically assisted death, if that makes sense. So this guy had like an accident. I don't know if he worked for the company or was like a volunteer or something, but he had like some sort of accident there that left him in a coma, kind of like brain dead, but not actually dead, even though everybody at the company is like referring to him as a dead person, and they're even referring to him as it, just to kind of distance themselves from what's happening, because I feel like everybody knows that like what's happening is not really morally correct, but they're doing it anyways. But like I said, they want to bring this man to his mother in a different state where he can have a medically assisted death. So Julia's job is basically like kind of like a VR game, which is part of the reason why she's selected, is because she's done a lot of gaming and used to be like a Twitch streamer, and is kind of not very well known for that, but you know, her mother has suggested her because of her video gaming skills. She can control this body, and she has to take the body to the airport on an airplane, arrive at this new state, get him wherever he needs to go. And it's just a very odd situation. I think it's, you know, weird and strange and clearly wrong from the very beginning. But I definitely think that there's more to it than what Julia knows so far. I personally believe like there's something else going on, and I think her mother set her up for this, knowing that it's not everything that it's explained to be. But we are continuing to get alternating chapters from that you perspective, which I am understanding a little bit more as we go through and we learn more about what the job is and exactly how it works and what Julia is doing. The perspectives from that other person are making more sense. Still very confusing, but I'm kind of grasping what's happening. So that's just kind of the general synopsis. I don't really have a lot to say as far as like my thoughts on the book so far, except that I'm very interested to see where it goes. This is definitely at the present moment leaning, I feel like, more sci-fi than it is horror, but I know those horror elements are going to come in, and I'm just very excited to see where it goes. I will say it's not like gripping me like my other favorite Paul Tremblay books have done, but I'm still very, very intrigued, and I want to see all of the pieces together, and I just feel like something's coming. I feel like we're gonna get like a shocking twist or reveal at some point. Like I said, I feel like there's definitely more to this job than what has been explained so far, especially when we look at the fact that like Julia signed all these papers without actually reading them. So I want to know like what was hidden in there, because her cab driver was like, you should really read those papers, and she was like, no, it's fine. I'm like, girl, what is wrong with you? That is my quick little update for now. Hopefully as I get further in the book I'll have more thoughts to share with you guys, but for now I'm just curious about what's gonna happen. One thing I will say about this book so far is that the chapters are very long. Some moments in this book are genuinely hard to read because they just make me cringe so bad. It's like almost like secondhand embarrassment, but not really secondhand embarrassment, but I'm just like, oh, this is just like horrible, and I hate everything that's happening. So I am now 39% of the way through the book, which I think is like a little over 100 pages. I'm not sure. If you get arcs through NetGalley on your Kindle, it goes to your Kindle as a document, and so it doesn't have page numbers. So when I'm reading arcs, I never actually know what page I'm on or like how many pages are in the book. But percentage based, I think it maybe is like around 150 pages or something like that. Anyways, I unfortunately don't have more really to say about it. I feel like the pacing is kind of slow, which is a little bit ironic because there was a chapter that was titled A Brief Interlude, and it was basically kind of talking about that idea where Paul, I feel like he's speaking direct to reader, but I don't know if it's like truthful what he's saying or if it's just kind of included for dramatic effect. But he was like, I had, you know, this whole chapter where I was going to force you to sit with this main character as she contemplates every little detail around her in this car ride. They have started their journey to the airport. She's contemplating like the socks that this man is wearing and all of these kind of mundane things. But he was like, well, you know, for your attention span and the fact that our brain constantly wants fast moving, action packed things in order to feel like there is okay pacing in a story, he said, I think it's a better use of time to include this interlude rather than that chapter. Again, I don't know if that's just for dramatic effect to add more to the story, but I did think that was kind of just funny. And like, I've never read a book where it takes a moment where the author is like kind of talking to you, but then at the same time still telling you what's going on in the story. I just thought that was kind of interesting. We are still going back and forth between the chapters that we're following Julia and then the chapters that are you and from this other perspective. I am still very confused when we are in that other perspective. It is like the things that are happening there, I think we can come to the conclusion that we are reading from the perspective of this man that is brain dead and is being manipulated to walk and go on this journey, and he doesn't understand what is happening, and it's very painful for him at times. So what's happening there is definitely mirroring like what we're reading is happening in Julia's chapters, like with her actually controlling this body, but it's not exact, and so there are parts where I'm a little bit confused. There also is another character. There are different people in those chapters, but we got a character introduced that it seems like is alongside this other person in those chapters, and I have a theory about who that person might be and why they might be included in the story, but I'm not 100% sure just yet. At times with those chapters, it is reminding me of one of my favorite horror sci-fi books, which is Intercepts by TJ Payne. That one starts off with a prologue that I literally will never get out of my brain because I find it so insanely good and quite terrifying, but being in the perspective of somebody that is being manipulated and is confused and again is like kind of painful. Like we're reading his chapter. I'm just gonna say his chapter, okay, because I'm assuming that's what it is. And he is getting on a train, and the people that, I don't know what they're called, porters? Is that the right word? The people that like help load luggage and bags on trains, they come and grab him and they pick him up and they like fold him up and put him under the seat as if he's luggage. And then we flip to Julia's chapter and they are putting him in the car, which the controller that she has to control him has very limited options. Like he can walk, can sit and stand. There's not really like a good way to sit somebody in a vehicle in a natural way, so they all kind of have to work together to like bend him and like control him at the same time to get him in the car. And I feel like that is definitely reflecting his experience of being folded up and tucked into this train, but things are not exactly matching up, so it's not like 100% clear and like spelled out for you what is happening. And I think that's interesting because it does keep that intrigue going and wanting to know like what's actually happening, but I am a little confused at times. Something else that I forgot to mention, I meant to say this in the first update, but Julia is kind of obsessed with The Big Lebowski, the movie. I think she starts off the book by saying like it's her comfort movie. She's watched it 77 times and she knows exactly every single time that she has watched it, and she is waiting until the perfect moment when she really needs that comfort to watch it again because she likes the number 77, which I feel like is just kind of interesting. But she speaks like the character in The Big Lebowski a lot, which is also really funny because that's one of my boyfriend's favorite movies, and the character in there, he goes by the Dude, and that is my boyfriend's username for like his online gaming. And then we get to Julia and she's like, her username online is the Dude, which I just think was really funny. But she's quoting the movie a lot, and there are a lot of references to it, and I've seen it, so like I understand it and I get it, but I feel like it could possibly be a little bit annoying to somebody who's never seen the movie, who doesn't like the movie, and you just don't get the references or really care for them. I feel like it's happening a lot, and if you can't connect with it, it might be a little annoying. One thing though that I am really loving is that there is a little bit of like Paul Tremblay playing with the formatting in the chapters from this person that is being controlled. There are parts where like words are blacked out, or just like going through his thought process. It's kind of like there's little graphics on the page. I can't really explain it very well, and I can't show it because it is an arc, so I don't know what's going to change from this to the actual published physical printed book when that one comes out. But I am really liking that. I just love books in general that play with like formatting a little bit, and I feel like the way that he's doing it in here is very intentional to the story and makes a lot of sense and does enhance the reading experience, so that has been really fun. Maybe I had a little bit more to say than I thought, but I also feel like maybe I just talked and didn't really say anything, because my only thought right now is like, I want to know what's going on. I want to know how this is going to end. It's very clear like what inspired Paul Tremblay to create this scientific sci-fi horror book. The technology that they use to control this body is based off of AI, and of course the people that created it make it to be like it's such a great thing, and it's gonna rewire his brain and form new like neural networks and links inside of his brain, and it's all AI, and AI is so smart. Like, I can't. There's also like every now and then just like kind of a one-off comment about you know, the ultra wealthy and about the tech industry and everything that I fully agree with, the sentiments that are being said here, and I'm really liking that. So I'm going to go eat my dinner and continue reading, and then I will let you guys know when I'm a little bit further in. It is like 3:30 in the afternoon, and I have not been outside all day, so I'm gonna go sit outside. There's like a little park behind our apartment complex, and I'm gonna read. I have my book, I have my little bag. Hopefully you didn't see my dirty table. But I have to stop. I have to go to the car to get my sunglasses, and then to the garage to get a little chair. Why is my car not in the garage? I don't know. Don't ask. Anyways, I just really need some sun. I hope it's warm out there because, hello, I'm gonna turn off the light. Oh, hello. It's been so chilly and like kind of windy the last couple of days, so hopefully it's nice. Sunglasses have been secured, although it's like kind of cloudy out. Also got the chair, so now I have to find a spot. It sucks because like this is all kind of goes downhill to the water, so it's kind of awkward to sit out here and read, but whatever. I swear this like always happens to me, that it's like really nice and sunny when I'm in the apartment and I go out onto the balcony to test if it's warm, and then I get out here and then the clouds come and now there's no sun on me. so I don't even need my sunglasses. Okay, literally fucking 2 seconds after I record that clip, now I'm in the sun. Okay, this is fine. I have my book. I had to be so honest right now that, like, I am really finding this book difficult to get through. Like, I truly just want it to be over, and normally, like, if I reach this point, like, if I get this feeling while I'm reading a book, I want to DNF it, but I don't like DNFing arcs. Obviously, you can, and, like, there's nothing wrong with it, but part of me still really wants to finish this because I want to know what's going to happen. But Bernie's chapters, Bernie is the guy, I don't know if I mentioned that's his name, and it's not his real name, but that's what Julia calls him because she's inspired by Weekend at Bernie's because it reminds her of what she's doing. But those chapters are really a struggle for me to get through because they're disorienting and confusing on purpose, but it also feels like reading a dream sequence, and notoriously I've never been a fan of reading dream sequences in books, so those chapters I am really struggling to push through. It doesn't help that the chapters are so freaking long. I'm 60% of the way through. I want to DNF it, but I also don't want to DNF it, so I don't really know. I'm gonna keep reading. POV, you are an ant in the grass. Is that annoying if that's there? Anyways, I was getting ready to head back in, but then the clouds actually moved, so now it's like just blue skies and really sunny, so I'm trying to soak up the sun. And also I got to a really interesting part in the book. Things are picking up and now I'm intrigued. I'm like 70% of the way through. I'm gonna go in after I finish this chapter though, because it's been like 2 hours and I need to pee. But I'm very happy that things have turned around and now I'm actually interested in what's going on. And I kind of knew, like, that was why I didn't really want to DNF, because I knew that we were going to get to a point where, like, everything was going to come together and make sense and we were going to get, like, some sort of reveal. And we haven't gotten, like, a full reveal, but things are starting to make more sense. That piece of grass is, like, right in front of me. Things are starting to make more sense. So I have 6 minutes left in this current chapter. I'm gonna read that and then go in. Also, I was like laying out here on my back and a spider crawled on my face. So that was fun. You know, it was fine. I like spiders, but I was like, sir, I really don't want you on my face right now. Also, if you're hearing the bird calls in the back and you're curious, that is a red-winged blackbird. And they're pretty cool, and they're all over the place here. So anyways, I'm gonna finish this chapter. It's the next day. I was going to finish the book yesterday, but then it got kind of late and I didn't feel like reading, and so I played Skyrim instead. But I just got to the last chapter. I'm about to start that and finish off the book. I think it says there's 35 minutes in this chapter, so I should be through with it pretty quickly, but I wanted to do one more update before the end. I'm really liking it now because we've reached the point where, like, I feel like things are developing and progressing a lot quicker, and it's become more interesting as well because I feel like we're getting a lot of answers and I'm understanding more of what is going on. It is unfortunate that it was kind of a slog through the middle, but I'm really curious to see how it's going to wrap up. I have a feeling that the ending is going to be very bleak. It's been kind of bleak so far, so I'm really curious to see how it's going to get wrapped up. There have been a lot of progressions within the story that I'm really liking, but I want to know like how Julia's story is going to end and what her character arc is really going to be. I think she's definitely learned some things throughout this as she is learning secrets. I'm also really liking her relationship with her uncle. I feel like it's very endearing and very heartwarming to see the love that they have for each other. I really appreciate that. Something else also that I feel like I have to include in here is that we learned Bernie's real name, and I remember reading it and I was like, why does it sound so familiar to me? Like I feel like this is a famous person or something, but I just realized why the name sounds so familiar to me, and I'm not gonna give it away, but I do think that it's kind of cool that Paul Tremblay did that. But I'm really just enjoying all of the commentary about AI, and just that's where the horror comes in, because like I already have so much like fear and anxiety around AI, and to be reading a horror book and you're like, wow, that's kind of crazy, that's kind of a far-fetched idea, but really it's not when you think about the stuff that AI is already doing in our world and the damage that it's already causing us. Like I feel like the events in here are not that far off. Like I feel like it could be plausible if this technology did happen, that people would use it for horrible things. That's my update for now. I'm going to finish the last chapter and then give you guys my full thoughts and rating. So it's a little later. I did finish the book. I don't have my Kindle with me, but I don't think it matters anyways. You know what book I'm reading by now. I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Unfortunately, I was not a big fan of the way that it ended. But I think that the biggest issue that I had with it is that I feel like it was too long, because a lot of the middle really dragged. I really enjoyed the setup of the story, and then after about 70% of the way through, I really enjoyed like pretty much all of that up until the end, although I wasn't a fan of the, what am I trying to say? Of the like actual ending. I still really enjoyed like reading that section of the book. I just feel like it's kind of a shame that so much of the middle was a struggle for me to get through. I feel like this would have worked really well as a novella. This is definitely unlike any other Paul Tremblay book that I've read. This one definitely leans more sci-fi, dystopian, very sad, very bleak, but it is, you know, Paul Tremblay's response and basically his message of saying like fuck AI and fuck all these people that are creating it, which I fully agree with. If you share that sentiment, then I would say, you know, pick this book up and read it if that's something that you're interested in. I think so far I've shared all of the thoughts that I've wanted to share with you guys, because not a whole lot. I mean, the last chapter really just wrapped things up for everybody, and we got Bernie's ending and Julia's ending, the end of their stories, and I just don't know how to feel about that. Unfortunately, I feel like this won't be a book that stays in my mind for very long. Of course, I enjoyed the writing. I think Paul Tremblay is an excellent author. Like I said, he is one of my favorite authors. There are a lot of points that were very descriptive and very graphic with certain things that happened throughout the book, and I really enjoyed those parts. I just feel like as a whole, I wasn't a big fan. The pacing was a little off, and I think that this would have been more successful for my personal tastes if it was shorter. I feel like this might be another one of those Paul Tremblay ones where either people love it or people hate it, but I don't know, because the ones that like Horror Movie and the Pallbearers Club that a lot of people really dislike, those are my favorites from him, so maybe this one that I'm not that big of a fan of will become one that a lot of people resonate with and really enjoy. So who am I to say? Maybe I just like Paul Tremblay's like unpopular stuff, his pretentious stuff that nobody likes. If you normally like to read sci-fi and you are looking for kind of a genre blend of sci-fi and horror and dystopian, then I think that this might work for you as well. Also, if you are someone who likes disorienting, kind of fever dreamy stories, then I would more likely recommend this to you because of those like chapters with Bernie where it's really kind of confusing and you don't really know what's going on, and it does feel like a dream or a nightmare, I guess you could say, at times. So if you already like reading stuff like that, then this might work for you. It just was not to my personal taste. I might just leave it there. I don't think that I have much more to say that I haven't already said. There's definitely an emotional impact to this book. There are some scenes that are pretty sad. There's one chapter especially that's just like kind of heartbreaking to read. And then you also get that emotional impact between Julia and her uncle with that relationship. Like I said, I really, really liked. But I feel like the ending is kind of left open a little bit, and I wish we got a little bit more closure of like Julia and her uncle and Julia and her mother and like what happened to those relationships in her life at the end of this story. Now, I am officially going to finish this update, so let me know down below if you plan to pick this book up when it comes out on June 30th. Let me know if you've already read it and what your thoughts are. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time.